Hey everybody, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. This is episode number 259. Mike, I've been thinking about switching up that intro. What do you think?
Can we? You mean like music?
The music.
Everything.
You know, let's throw, you know what we'll do after we're done with this? Let's throw a poll in the Facebook group and see what the guys think. Cause I'm just looking at it. I think we've had this same kind of intro for,
at least like
a year.
200 episodes.
Yeah, that's longer than that, right? So we'll have to see. Maybe we'll freshen it up. If anybody's got any ideas, let us know.
I'm glad. It's funny you brought that up because Will, one of the listeners of the show, remember he wrote in and he actually quizzed us on if we knew at what episode we switched from the funk intro we had to the rock intro, and he actually found the episode number. I forgot what it was now, but it does go way back.
It goes way back. I think it might be time for something fresh.
Let's do it.
Let's think about it. Let's think about what we can throw in there. But anyway, I digress. Guys, we've got a great episode. We're going to be talking with Kiel Alderink shortly. We're going to bring him on the show. And if you're newer to the show, you might not recognize his name, but if you've been one of our longtime listeners, you know we go way back with Kiel. In fact, I think this is either his third or possibly fourth time on the show. A little quick bio. Kiel, he's a Golf Digest top 100 teachers under 40 in America. He's also a Golf Digest top teacher in Illinois. He's a Golf Academy of America top 25 teacher. He's a Teacher of the Year nominee. I mean, the list goes on and on. But we've worked with him. We've brought him on. We've talked a little bit about junior golfers, and he does a lot of training with junior golfers, but he does training across the board. Anyway, it's been quite some time since we've had a chance to speak with him, and he's been very busy. He's been putting together a new program that he's doing. He's doing some online coaching as well as his on-site coaching. But he's the founder of Champion Ways Golf, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. And he's going to come on and we're going to talk about a topic that is very important. He's going to talk about how to be more effective with your practice. You know, we say it here a lot. None of us are pros. We don't have 2-3 hours a day to dedicate towards our game. So, you know, we're lucky if we have that many hours a week to dedicate towards our game. So we want to get better. We've got to be more effective with the little bit of time that we have. Also, you know, a lot of us have had this feeling where you feel like you're just kind of stagnant. You feel like no matter how much you do or work on your swing, year after year, the same scores come in. I mean, a lot of people have felt and can relate to that. So we want to talk about how to break free of that. And I think a large part of that is proper practice. Like, are you practicing the right way? So these are all things that we're going to run by Kiel. Before we go any further, there's also a couple other things I want to talk about before we bring him on the show. But as always, we want to thank ShotScope for sponsoring today's episode. Mike, the Hawks Landing vlog that we just did, it's on the YouTube channel, just dropped this week. Had a lot of fun putting that one together. If you haven't seen it, guys, go and check it out. It's on YouTube. It's also on Facebook Watch. We put the ShotScope V2. You hear us talking about it a lot here. We put it through a full 18 on a very tough, windy day. And trust me, you guys see this, you'll get a feel for how it works and why we have so much fun when we're out there using the V2, right, Mike?
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny when you just called in, I was watching that video on the big screen. It's such a good one. It's such a good one. Go check it out. But if you're new to the show, we've been talking about ShotScope for some time now. I mean, it's a GPS system and stat tracking all in one watch. So they have over 40,000 courses. They collect hundreds of stats. I mean, imagine just hiring a swing coach, Frank, and then just walking in the door and sharing your data with them, identifying things like, I don't know, biggest percentage miss, or which club is my most accurate, or which is my least accurate. You know, how do I shave strokes from putting? Am I accurate? I mean, you get it. I can go on and on. That's what the ShotScope does. It identifies the holes in your game. It identifies the strengths in your game as well. So I'm going to give you a very simple call to action. Just grab the ShotScope V2. Visit shotscope.com/Golficity. Use the coupon code Golficity for $40 off the price. Frank, all the guys in the Facebook group, I saw a message today. Someone wrote in and said they're loving the V2 right now. They got it a couple weeks ago. They put it a couple rounds and they're loving it. And I love hearing that because you and I love it too.
You're right. The feedback on it has been tremendous. I like hearing that because it means more and more people are going to be getting on the Golficity leaderboard. And also, like you said, Mike, with the $40 off the price point, it's a no-brainer. I see guys dropping a lot more than what they're spending on the ShotScope on just a GPS watch that doesn't have all the tracking. You might as well get them both. So great stuff. Guys, in case you missed it, we gave away, I just reminded me because I'm looking at myself in the camera and I've got one of these new, Titleist flat bills on. You got them there too, but I love the new Team Titleist ones. Anyway, we wanted to, let you guys know if you're not in the Facebook group, jump in there. We're going to try to do more exclusive giveaways just for the group. Just this last week, we just impromptu gave 3 of these away real quick.
Pop giveaway.
You shipped those out this week, right, Mike?
Yeah, they all went out. And I love the pop giveaways, just random. It's great.
We're going to try to do a lot more of that. Look, you guys know we have the sponsors for the podcast. These are the guys who help. They help us to keep the lights on. They give us the opportunities to do more with the show. But one thing that we always ask of our sponsors is we ask them to try to find ways to give back for our listeners. One of the ways is with these giveaways and things like that. So whenever we get stuff sent our way, we're going to try to send it your way and give it back to you guys. And a big way we're going to do that was with the group. So make sure you're in there because you'll be part of these exclusive giveaways. Couple things that I wanted to chat about real quick, Mike, before we, talk to Kyle. I was watching the Genesis Open this week. Okay. And it's funny for all the talking that we've done about the flag stick in or out. A lot of it has been whether it physically helps you, whether it serves as a backstop or whatever it may be. And for all that talking, we kind of neglected the mental side of it. And we know, and we've said to hear so many times, confidence is key to scoring well. So do the things that give you confidence, whether it be equipment or whatever it may be. But did you see the way Adam Scott has dramatically improved his putting and he's using the pin,
leaving it in,
but he's using it as a mental aiming tool. He's going to that old here, like Jordan Spieth says, like that aim small, miss small. So instead of aiming for that cup, he's making his target even smaller. He's using that to kind of align himself. And you can't fight the results because I tell you what, it's really been solid. We've seen some, he was, in contention. He was playing well. And his putting has been really coming around. He's a guy who had struggled with it, especially switching from, a couple of years back from the anchored stand-up putter. So he's struggled before, but I thought that was an interesting thing. And it just, not only the pin, but it also sheds light on whatever it takes out there for you to give yourself a little bit of that mental confidence boost. Use it. You can't argue with success.
I totally agree. I mean, I just don't know where I am at or where a lot of amateur golfers are at with that still. I mean, it's for me, I think in the 4 or 5 rounds I played this season, it was just a matter of, just leave it in or, there wasn't much thought behind it. It was more of like what's easy for everyone else. Yeah. Right when we're out there. But, but to your point in regards to, I mean, I'd love it as a way to practice too. And then hopefully maybe transition out on the course. For me, the confidence is not there. I can't putt with the flag stick in. I'm just not used to it, but love the idea of making that target even smaller. I mean, maybe I'll try that during practice.
Yeah. Well, look, you got to go. You got to go with what works for you. It's going to be a personal thing. But I just thought it was an interesting side of the coin to look at with it, where we're all talking so much about, like I said, the physical aspect of leaving it in and not that mental side. And it's working for him. But I just thought if nothing else, if it widens your view a little bit and you think outside the box a little bit more like he's doing and just think, are there other things I can do and small little changes I can do that'll help give me a little bit of confidence, whether it be with your aiming or whatever it may be. It's something to think about. I know we jump around.
Frank,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I wanted to bring this up because you're talking about putting. Look what came in the mail the other day. Can you see this?
Oh, yes. I've been dying to try that since we saw it at the PGA show.
Yeah, the putt out mirror trainer with the gates. This is awesome.
Which, by the way, did you see that? Speaking of Jordan Spieth, did you see he was using it the other day?
Was he? I didn't see that.
He was. So the little video circulating around Instagram and Twitter. And of course, the guys from Putt Out, they messaged it to us, be like, check this out. And I'm like, how cool is that? I mean, that's really is cool. I mean, the Putt Out guys are a really cool small team of really dedicated dudes who we've been in touch with for a long time because we really love their, it's not a sponsorship or endorsement or anything like that. It's just something we love. I've got my Putt Out there right there behind me.
I finally got my mat yesterday. I'm loving it.
So, I'm rooting for those guys. I hope, and it's good to see that they're really getting traction. You got guys on tour using it. Like I was saying, I know we jump around a lot, but there's a lot of stuff that I want to kind of just from week to week, a lot of stuff that pops up in between. I like to just kind of like go over it here before we get into the meat of the interview in a minute. there was one tweet that came in the other day that really caught my attention. And it really, like I said, there's these little compliments sometimes that come in that really make our day. And, this one I just really liked. Brad Lowing said, he just tweeted this out. He said, I watched 5 videos of people playing in pro-ams. None of them made you feel as included as Golficity's video from the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. Felt like I was there. And dude, that lit up my day.
100%. Now, not to cut you off, but I saw that. Love it. It did make my day because obviously that was an awesome experience for both of us.
Yeah. And the very specific reason, at least for me, why it cause obviously it makes you happy to hear any type of feedback like that. But why it did is when you're doing something, when you put something out there creatively and you're going for something very specific and someone comes back to you and just kind of like reverberates that back and hits the nail on the head. And it just makes you realize that your effort is kind of validated. That's what makes me happy, because one thing that we've always tried to do with the videos and the way we shoot them and the vlog style, talking to the camera, everything that we do, the point of it is to try to almost reach through the camera and make everybody feel like you're there with us. We've always said we wish we had a way that everyone could experience the things that we're experiencing with us. So the fact that he said we made, him feel included, it just made my day, because like I said, that's what we're going for. We're going for that inclusion. We want people to feel like you're right there with us, experiencing it as it unfolds. Like that was we shot that whole experience from the flight down, basically the flight back. And we just said, like, we want to bring you along for what we're doing and what this is like being in a pro-am. So, Brad, we appreciate that. I really appreciate, I don't know Brad. I haven't met him before. I just saw that tweet and I appreciate that. If you listen to the show, thank you very much for that. And I thought that was a really cool thing.
Yeah. And we're coming up on a year anniversary of that, Frank. Can you believe that already? That's like in 2 weeks.
Feels like we were just there in Bay Hill.
I know. Can't wait to watch it though this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd love to get back there someday. Maybe we'll play it again.
Right.
But speaking of videos, another thing, we've got two big things right now. We still got our 10K giveaway right now. If you guys haven't seen that yet, just check it out on our YouTube channel. I'll link to all this in the show notes as well, but we're giving away $1,400 worth of stuff, in honor of reaching 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. We also have a couple of, Tour Edge drivers that we're giving away right now. That went along with our Lake Nona video. The guys at Tour Edge were very cool and gave us those 2 drivers while we were there. So we're going to give those away. And then we've got a great video coming out in a couple days after this podcast. This one we had some fun with. We've got, a round that we played at the Watson course at Reunion while we were down in Florida. We played with Bob Menery, and we played with the guys from Golfholics. So, Mike, I don't know.
Yeah,
You've seen the first cut. What do you think?
I love reliving this experience over and over again because I'm still laughing out loud watching the video. I mean, you guys are going to get a kick out of this. There's one in particular. There's this one scene where Frank just pipes one down the fairway. There's a little teaser here. Pipes one down the fairway and he lines up for this shot and you destroy it. I think you pull it way left, but the whole time during your swing, you had Menery doing in his voice, the play-by-play, just ripping you apart. Your color of your shirt, everything. It's just, the whole thing is hysterical. I wouldn't do it any justice. Just check it out when it drops. You're going to love it.
And we know we've got some families, some kids who watch the show. So we have, we've hit that bleep button as many times as we needed to try to keep this thing clean. But yeah, it is a different experience. Like you just put aside like wanting to post a good score and you just realize you're just going to have a little bit of fun. And that's what it's all about. Like it felt like I was at the Waste Management or something. Cause you got him as I'm going through my swing, he's out there, he's announcing it. So it was funny. And then we had a couple of crazy challenges we did while we were out there. We had one hole, par 4. We played it with only pitching wedges. We had a par 3 that we played with only driver. So we were just kind of out there just having fun. the guys from Golfholics were there. They were a blast, getting out there and playing with them. We had some like fun little side bets we had going.
Katie Carney came out.
Katie Carney came out at one point and played with us. At one point we were playing five or six of us.
Yeah.
So,
it got out of control.
It was just like a crew. I mean, and if you add in like, the Golfholics guys have their own camera crew that comes with them. So then that's another cart. I think we had like, I don't know, 6 golf carts.
Right. The people behind us, it was not good.
But you know what? They didn't care because they were getting a kick out of Menery too. He's shouting back to them. They're joking. Right. So it was just one of those really fun rounds. We had a great time with it. But anyway, so lots going on. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel because that's where you're going to see all of these videos when they drop first. We also often will, put those on Facebook Watch as well as in the Facebook groups. There's a lot of ways to see them, but even more good stuff rolling out over the next couple of weeks. And we've got some great, podcast episodes. We're putting them on there too. We're going to have the guys from Golfholics on the show as well. We caught up with them after that round and we recorded a quick podcast. So that's going to be coming, I think in about 2 weeks from now. So stay tuned for that. Mike, let's do a quick word from our sponsor and then let's dial Kyle in.
Yeah, let's do that. So this episode is sponsored by Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. Frank, I was thinking about that, speaking of old episodes, our interview with Bob Voki. I mean, if you missed it, it's episode 231. We had Bob on the show. I mean, it was so inspiring to hear his passion for club design. I mean, he was a great guy. And guys, we made the switch to the SM7 wedges, last summer. These bad boys, I mean, they were designed by the Voke man himself to improve your wedge play. SM7 innovations provide the best performance in distance control, shot versatility, and maximum spin.
Yeah, and it was great that we got a chance to run to him in person in Orlando last month. Bob is one of those guys who just oozes with knowledge, is incredibly just nice, outgoing, friendly guy. You could just tell he just loves to talk about, equipment and golf and what he does. He's just so much passion just coming out of him. And you could see that in the SM7s. They've really been a game changer for me. Like what we did last summer, I'm still convinced that the SM7 wedges, you got to hit each grind side by side, go through that wedge fitting if you get the opportunity. I know they've got a great tool on the website where you can kind of get an idea for which one's right for you. But we always pitch the idea and we tell you guys that the little bit more of time, possibly money investment that comes with the fitting is worth its weight in gold. I mean, these SM7s are like the gold standard in wedges. Why not just go that one extra step? Go through the fitting because there's just so many different grind and bounce options. You can find the one that's right for you. You can find a fitting location by going to Voki.com. Or like I said, they've got the online wedge selector tool. It'll really help. It'll get you right in the right place. But if you have an opportunity, just search it. If there is one near you, go for it. You're not going to regret it. These wedges, they're a game changer. And these are your scoring clubs. These are those clubs that, you know what I mean? You start hitting those greens, put it a little bit tighter and those putts start dropping a little bit easier. Trust me, like I said, worth its weight in gold.
Worth its weight. I'm stopping dropping on those greens now. I'm loving it.
And we saw that in the Hawks Landing.
Yep.
That 60-degree that you pulled back nicely.
Pulled it right back, made birdie. So there you go.
There you go. All right, guys. This episode is also sponsored by Peter Millar. Peter Millar is all about quality, value, comfort, and style. I love their 5-pocket pants. I've talked about them here before. Talk about comfort. I mean, these things, they've got it all. I love the style. I love that I can wear them anywhere. They're really light. They're breathable. They fit like your favorite pair of jeans, but they look good enough that you can wear them out, to dinner or whatever it's one of those pants that's just very versatile. So you can wear them year round. They're machine washable. They're easy to take care of. Mike, for me they're the go-to.
It's funny. Lately these have been getting a lot of compliments. I just got to tell you that. I've noticed that people are asking, like, hey, I like those. What are those?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll tell you what they are. They're the 5-pocket pants from Peter Millar.
There you go. Right.
So listen, I would sleep in these things if my wife didn't think it was weird. I mean, that's how comfortable they are. So head over to petermillar.com/golf. Check out some of our favorites. I mean, just make sure you use the code, GOLF. You'll get free shipping, Frank, complimentary shipping, and a free hat.
Yes.
So that's cool. So check it out. That's petermillar.com, MILLAR, petermillar.com/golf. Once again, petermillar.com/golf.
All right, guys, let's dial Kyle in. Let's talk a little bit about practice and how you can get the most out of it. All right. I am so pleased to have the opportunity to welcome Kiel Alderink back to the show. Buddy, it's been a while since we had a chance to talk.
Good. I know, man. It's been cool, but, like I told you before, congratulations on your success. It's really cool to see Golficity keep growing. And, it's cool being on the podcast, I don't know, probably about a year ago now or 2 years ago. How long has that been?
It's been a while. I was looking at some of the episodes. I mean, I think you were on,
You first came on March of 2015, Kyle.
Oh,
so
wow.
we're approaching the 4-year mark since you came on first.
Wow.
And Frank, what'd you say? Now that he's 3+, he's considered a regular now.
He's a regular now.
He's a regular.
But I'm looking at some of these
guest.
episodes. Episode 63, we talked about junior golfers. We talked about how to find the right golf coach. I think episode 90 something. So we've covered quite a bit.
I must be saying some decent stuff for you guys to keep inviting me back. So I appreciate that.
Yes, you definitely always bring it. So, but for anybody who's maybe newer to the show and who maybe hadn't heard those episodes, which by the way, guys, if you haven't, go back and listen to them in the Golficity app. They're all free there. Kyle, give us a little bit of a background on what you do, who you are, and a little bit of your personal background.
Yeah, man. So, it's changed a little bit since the last time we talked. I'm solo operation now, and I created a brand called Champion Ways. And, I created this based on just getting people to understand, what we do, how we practice, how we compose ourselves. Everything should be like what champions do. There's kind of a mantra and aura there. So, I wanted everything to portray that, like great body language, great attitude, practicing like a champion, just really composing yourself. So more like life skills and stuff. But, what I figured out and kind of why we're talking is the more I was around players, good players, bad players, whatever it was, is like, people were taking some certain things, some certain swing techniques and, not really knowing what to do with it, not really knowing how to improve. And that's kind of the frustration people would always come to me with is like, I feel like I'm working at this, I'm doing this, but I'm just not improving. So, like I said, I started to brand this and kind of create a system, and I'll take you guys through this a little bit more in depth, but, really a system of how to practice, what that entails, how to do it, and stuff like that, which you can dive into. So anyways, that's kind of it, man. I've been plugging away on that. I still do a lot of in-person coaching with this stuff, but I'm trying to reach a little more of the masses with the online piece of it too. And live streaming, helping players really understand, their practice, like I said, when we were talking earlier, it's like what to do, when to do it, how to do it. I mean, there's a lot of up in the air out there. So I'm, looking forward to talking to you guys about that.
And that is so cool. You're able to use like these tools like live stream and stuff and bring this to people outside of your immediate area. But speaking about practice, I feel like it is definitely a common frustration among golfers. We feel like we're putting the work in. Maybe you see a coach once a year, twice a year. You get a lesson here or there. You spend some range time, but then you feel like no matter what, you're posting the same scores year over year. And so it sounds like what you're really honing in on it. And I was checking out a little bit of your program a little bit. I like the title. You say the practice of great practice. So some of us just, you get in your mind like, well, I'm practicing, so I must be getting better. But I don't, that's probably what you're going to say is that's probably not the truth. Just not all practice is created equal, right?
Right. So yeah, just showing up doesn't really mean anything. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it's a waste of time. So I think one of my staples sayings about the program is like your performance on the course is a direct reflection of how you practice. I think that's really important for people to understand because, like you said, it's like we have this idealistic view. It's like just showing up and being out there. We feel like we're putting work in.
Right.
But if you're really kind of doing some not great things, and I'll take you guys through a few of I got 3 really main ones I'll share with you guys of bad practice here in a second. But there's really 3 bad things that most players do, especially average players that aren't really trained in this aspect. But there's things that are really, like you said, kind of making us go almost the opposite way, where you're working a lot on your swing, you feel like you're putting the time in, but it just creates frustration. So yeah, I mean, I would say that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. So then let's just kind of like dive right in. I mean, you talk about in your program making practice more valuable and then putting that application to work. So how do you go about that with your students? And I know you work with all ranges, from guys who are, very high caliber, collegiate golfers and things like that to, essentially, I guess what I'm driving at is this something that works for all levels?
Oh, it absolutely does. And I mean, I think especially at the level of player that, the working guy or gal and, that doesn't have a lot of time. Like if you have an hour or two a week to practice and try to get better, like you got to be super efficient at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like you just can't waste that time. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. And like I've appreciated time management more as I've gotten busy. And I'm sure you guys do too. It's like, we just don't have the time to waste out there. Like, it's just exercise at that point. So there's really like three things like I want to share with you guys that, I've broken this down that most players do. And, but first, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So if most players that come and want to get better at their golf game, and I'll ask them, like, what are you looking to accomplish? What do you guys think is like the number one answer? Get it 98% of the time. What do you think players are looking for?
Is it like hyper specific? Because then they want more distance. Otherwise, I hear all the time,
lower handicap.
Yeah.
Close, but I would say
wider.
98% of the time I get consistency.
Consistency, yeah.
Yeah. Players go, I want consistency, right? But so here's like where it all starts. Like if you think about the word consistency, and golf is the most variable game that I think has ever been invented.
Right.
I mean, there is never going to be the same opportunity twice. So players have this idealistic view of consistency. So we run to the range, we grab a 7-iron, and we're trying to create like muscle memory, right? We're standing in that same spot, and we're trying to repeat the same motion over and over and over. But like, even if you repeat that and you do great on that driving range with no consequence because we're feeling great, like there's really nothing in the way, or if there is, then we just grab another ball and do it again. It makes us feel good, but we're not really doing anything that's like game rep.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, we're not really practicing for variability. And I think that's the first absolute one that most players are failing with. Is they're trying to create this consistency or this view of consistency. Like I need to repeat the same motion over. I need to get that muscle memory. But guess what? Like if you take that same swing and you got a little tilt like this,
right.
Like you're on a side hill lie, you're in a deep rough, you got wind into you, the pin's tucked left. Like, pin placement's back this day, or like we have 160 yards, which is what our max 7-iron goes, and we need to hit it 156. Like, all of these things we need to be able to create if we're going to get better. And just in terms of like, this is a deep conversation too, but like the psychology of how we learn, like we need to keep our mind engaged. Mm-hmm. So like, again, if we stand on the range with alignment rods down and we're in that same spot hitting at the same target, like your mind goes on autopilot about after 3 or 4 shots. Mm. So regardless if you're getting good reps or not, it's like you stop learning anything. Because your brain's basically wired to multitask. So it just kind of shuts off and it's like, all right, this is what I'm doing. I'm banging 7-irons at this pin. And then it's off like out in the distance. You know what I mean? So I think the very first thing that really screws most players is there's no game-like reps. Meaning, again, they're just standing in that same spot. They're repeating motions. They're hitting ball after ball. And that's nothing close to what we do in golf.
Yeah.
You
think about the range and like how, you're hitting by, like you said, the same club, which you never hit the same club twice in golf in general, right? Unless you made a huge mistake. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, when do you encounter a completely flat lie like you have in the range, with, like you said, a target that's just like kind of a broad target?
Right.
Right.
Wide open.
Don't face that. Right.
Right. And again, we have that security of like, if I mishit the shot, I just got another one. I'll do it again.
Right.
Again, it makes us feel great. But again, so another piece of that too is like, I mean, you guys have become better players and stuff. So, I mean, you probably have a pre-shot routine, stuff you do. Right. But like, again, how many players do you see just banging balls in the range and then all of a sudden they get out to the first tee and they have to aim different or hit a driver after they hit 7-irons. All of a sudden they get behind the ball. They're trying to practice swing and do all this stuff, but they've never practiced doing that.
Right.
Like never practiced doing that.
It's rare that I see someone work their way like methodically on the range, like going through the pre-shot routine, picking a target. Mm-hmm. Unless you're at a PGA Tour event, you see those guys, they're very methodical, but otherwise on the amateur, I rarely see it.
It takes discipline. Yeah. Like, I mean, it really does. Cause like, I mean, if I have a couple minutes to hit balls, I mean, I'll rake it over and, hit. I'm trying to get as many as I can in like 10, 15 minute break I have. But truthfully, like if we're going to get better, we got to try to turn that into, what we're doing. And then we got to create the variability of that, meaning like, we got to aim at a different target. We got to aim to a target on the right and a target on the left. And we got to be going through that process. Because the next really big thing that really hurts players in practice is they spend probably 90% of their practice time on maybe 5% of their game. So what I mean by that, if you really break down the percentages of golf, your driver, your short game, and your putting is about 80%, give or take, depending on the level of player you are. Again, most players are out there with a 7-iron in hands, a 7-iron, an 8-iron, 9-iron, or something, because that's a club they feel good with. And then they hit that almost the majority of practice. But like, if you really break this down, and this is an interesting story. I have a really good college player, and again, for compliances, I can't say his name, but and this kid pounds the ball. He's a big kid, and I mean, he hits it like a good 350, no joke.
Wow.
So, we're on the range one day, and he's just hitting 7-iron after 7-iron, and I just looked at him, and a couple of expletives. I've known him for a long time, so I can cuss at him a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, how many times do you, hit a 7-iron? And he kind of looks at me like with a tilted head. He's like, maybe on a par 5 here and there. I'm like, right, dude. So like, you know what I mean? I'm like, you maybe hit this thing, if you're lucky, twice around, but you're spending a mass majority of your time on this thing. So when we flipped it to like, you got to be really, if you're hitting the ball 350 yards, you got to be amazing with your driver, because it's pretty much a cakewalk from there. Flip wedge out of the fescue if you need to, but
right.
It's like, you just get great with your driver, be a decent putter, and you're probably going on tour, and you probably will. But that's a good example, though, is even like the mid-level players that don't hit it that far. I mean, the amount of times you're hitting a 7-iron in a round is maybe 5 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if the player's shooting 85, I mean, you do those percentages, it's like, it just doesn't add up.
It's funny. It works the other way too. If you ask the average golfer, like, what club could they kind of hit in their sleep? What do they have the most confidence with? It's probably a 7-iron.
Right, because that's the one they're banging on the range. So
right.
Look, you put most of these players on the range, and you throw a ball down the range and you put pressure on them, they probably can perform it because that's what they do.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? But you throw all of a sudden a bunker in their way and a pin tuck to the right and some wind in their face and a thick lie, like, they can't do it because they've never practiced it. And listen, I get it. Like it's hard. Like, driving ranges are kind of set up tough for players because they set them up perfect. In a perfect world, you'd have a strip of rough, strip of sand, some uneven lies. I mean, if we could practice off that, it'd be a lot better.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I would love to see ranges.
I don't understand why nobody's done it yet, honestly. I think it's just greenskeepers don't want the hassle of doing it, truthfully, because it'd probably take a lot of work. But, I mean, that would be like the absolute best way to be able to do that, but it's hard. But, I mean, like, I tell players, get out on the course if you can. But, again, most courses don't want you out there just hacking balls from everywhere. But we really need to do that. So that's really the second thing, is just changing those percentages, especially for the player who doesn't have a ton of time. Spend the mass majority of your time on your driver, your wedges. I mean, even like 60, 70-yard wedges and your putting. And, again, kind of diving a little deeper into the putting, like working from 5 feet in and like 30 feet and out. Like, especially if players aren't really have the time to spend hours and hours, like, those are the two zones that are important, because a 10-footer, even on the PGA Tour, is 50-50.
Right.
So if you're dropping putts at 15 feet and just missing them over and over and over, I mean, I don't know what good that's doing for you. But you could be a lot better at your lag putting from like 40, 50 feet, because that's probably where you're hitting it to.
Turn
if you're
those
shooting
3 putts into 2.
Yeah.
Right. Makes sense.
So that's kind of that. And then the last one is just really getting thoughts organized. And this is probably the most powerful one, is the tinkering. And I know we've talked about this before, but, guys will read a swing tip and they'll run to the range and they're trying to, bend their elbow one way one day, or they read, they saw GG swing tips give a thing, and, now they're trying to crank their knee to the left or whatever kind of crazy stuff he's got people doing. But, but they'll read it, and like every day something different. So they're out there like just reacting to what the ball is doing. They're changing their grip. They're all over the place with what they're thinking. And then all of a sudden they get out on the golf course and they're like, what am I supposed to think?
Yeah.
Like, even if you get a swing thought that works for the day, you might forget it because you never really built on it. Right. But if you can take, like, this is what I do. So, like, your guys' lesson I saw on YouTube, which I thought was really cool. But you take some of that stuff you do and you have the feedback and you repeat it over and over and over every day. It maybe take you 5 to 10 minutes per practice to work on your technique. You reinforce it a little bit. This is what I need to do. Then you start adding that variability into practice. Now I'm going to start getting my routine going, and I'm going to start hitting shots at different targets. And I'm going to see, can I hit the ball high? Can I hit it low? Can I curve it right? Can I curve it left? Because it's not even that you need to play golf like that, but you need to understand why the ball does that. to be able to have solutions. And that's really what it boils down to, is most golfers don't have solutions. They just go, I do this wrong. Like, what do I do wrong? That's the funny one to me. Like, a player will hit a shot, they'll miss it. What did I do wrong? And I'm like, truthfully, man, I don't really care. Like, what do you need to do better to hit the next shot where you want to?
Right.
Because your problems really don't change. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen it. Like,
100%.
In your own swings, your own games, it's always the same stuff.
Yeah. For me, I've had through the years different lessons I've had with different coaches. It's slightly different iterations of it. I might have gotten a little bit better, but my major problems are still my major problems. I've just gotten a little bit better with each lesson, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, again, when the mistakes happen, it's the same stuff. I mean, Tiger Woods' miss is the same now as it ever was.
Right.
I mean, it's like you said, we try different iterations and different ways to do it, but bodies just don't change that much. Motion doesn't change that much. But it's interesting because, like, if you think about golfers, like, we understand that it takes a while to change a swing for the better, but we have no problem saying our swing went to crap on the golf course, like, right away. Right? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, look, your swing didn't really change that day. You just weren't prepared to hit that shot.
Right.
Or you just made a pretty poor decision, which, that's, another part of practice is learning decision making. And that's why variability is important in changing different shots. So you learn to get your mind to go, okay, this is what this shot entails. This is what I need to do for that. So again, you're starting to figure out solutions. I mean, golf would be much better practiced if it was always on the course. But realistically, we can't do that unless you're a member at a country club that doesn't get a lot of play.
Right.
But, I mean, if players were truthfully able to just get off the range and get on the course, like, you're probably going to figure out how to get better by hitting different shots in different situations.
Okay. So how do they do this as far as introducing more variability? Obviously, as you said, we can start hitting some of the clubs that were, like, for me, a good example is I don't hit my 3-wood well, so I don't pull it out on the range. And I should do the opposite, right? I should work on that there. Or likewise, moving around, hitting going for different targets. But I would imagine there's certain variability that's going to be very hard, as we're talking about here, with the range always being flat. One thing that does get me, and I think this is something that gets a lot of people when they say, how come my game does not translate from the range to the course, is I've been really dissecting this. We also did you saw our lesson that we did. We also did a playing lesson out on the course with Kevin Sprecher, which was incredibly enlightening because I learned in just watching him how much, pros think about their stance, balance, and lie. So, and I think that's the stuff that trips us up. It's like we attack it the same way, even though maybe it's 3 inches high, like above our feet, as opposed to a flat lie. So is there a way to, like, I don't know, train that variability? Do you have any suggestions there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. It's tough, and without being able to get on the course, like, it's hard. And I look at kind of the places I teach out of and stuff. I mean, there's areas where there's rough that I'll try to get into, or uneven lies and stuff. Yeah. But in my indoor studio, I've built my own, like, uneven lie stuff. I just took plywood and 2x4s and built little platforms with turf on it.
Get creative. I like it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out every possible way to get that where it's not just always that flat, cushy lie. Because, and one thing I want to go back to, that's another, I think, really important lesson for people to learn is, like, and this is going to sound harsh, I don't mean it like this, but, like, players are not better on the range. They just are not. Like, if you hold them up for a little bit, give them a break, give them a different club than they're just hitting, and you throw one ball down and make them go to a different target, you're going to see exactly what you see on the course. But we get that pseudo belief because, again, we talked about we're in the best situation, right? We're in a flat lie. There's no consequence. There's no real pressure. But, like, it's usually that, like, they'll clunk 2 out there and then they'll hit the 3rd and 4th one pretty good and be like, look how good I am. Yeah. But they're not, like, again, they're hitting, it's taking like 4 or 5 balls to get into that rhythm where we don't get that on the course. Because I used to do that too. I'm like, wow, you hit it so good on the range. And then we go on the course and I started thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, like, as soon as we switch clubs and then you hit it the same way, like, this started to come together, and any bit of pressure too will put them right into their stress mode that kind of gets them to hit it wherever they're going to hit it too. So,
gotcha.
I think that's really important because they're giving themselves those pseudo confidence, and that goes back to the game like reps where we're not there's no pressure on you on the range. So, like, to be able to do stuff that starts to simulate pressure is really important because we got to measure our skill. And we got to measure whether we're getting better, and we got to be able to push ourselves too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because getting better and improving in golf is very similar to like working out. So, Mike, you work out a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How much do you bench? Do you bench at all?
No.
There's
no benching in my workout. It's all pretty much like high intensity type stuff. So there's really no weight lifting.
Okay.
He measures himself based on like jump, like you do that jump and
box jumps and squats with plates overhead, things like that.
Kind of killed.
So I killed your example.
No, but
maybe
was a
back
box
in the day,
jump or something.
Let's say, I mean, you look like a pretty fit dude.
All right, let's say I could probably bench about maybe 200. Let's call it.
Okay, we'll say 200 for an example. Okay,
sure.
So if you could bench 200 and you went out to bench for the day, and let's say you're just benching 80 pounds, like, are you getting any stronger from that?
You think he's tricking you? You think he's got a trick question up his sleeve?
Truthfully, you probably wouldn't.
I think I'm working the muscles even though the weight is lighter, and in that regard, I may be getting stronger.
Okay. Well, I mean, truthfully, no.
Okay.
I mean, if your body's like really set to like you can bench 200, like we'll see even go lighter. Let's say 20 pounds. Let's just say you're benching the bar over and over.
Sure.
Like you might feel good. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't suck. Like I hate working out, truthfully. But it's those last reps that we can't really get up. That we're at the edge of our ability. That's what's making us stronger. So that probably goes into your box jumps too. It's that last jump where you're barely able to do it. Like that's the one making us stronger. It's not the first one. So in golf, how that translates is like we got to get ourselves at the edge of our ability. We got to do stuff where we can measure that we're actually getting better. So some scoreable type games, and it's got to be hard. But we're so conditioned to like want to feel good about ourselves, like that bench press example. Like if I go bench the bar, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I worked out. Look,
exactly.
I feel great. Like it doesn't hurt, and I'm not sore. But like players in golf just so much hate the frustration because everything's about this is how we need to do it. So we're so entailed to like the frustration's bad. We're getting worse if we're struggling a little bit. But like this is where we learn and we actually improve our skill. So going back to like the variability and stuff, like short game games, putting games, and again, it's got to be stuff that's very variable. It's got to be a full routine, and there's got to be a consequence behind it. Something you absolutely hate doing, whether it's gambling with people and losing money, whether it's push-ups. Time simulates pressure really well. Like if you got to do something in a certain amount of time, like I do a lot of 2-minute stuff because it like when that buzzer starts beating down, like people start to get a little like, but that kind of stuff in practice is very important. So like kind of my 4 pillars, I call them, is we got technique building, which would be like what you guys did with Kevin. Mm-hmm. And then the skill, like technique and skill are wildly different. Technique's like, this is how I need to move. Skill is, can I control the ball? Like, can I make it go high? Can I make it go low? Can I make it spin? Can I curve it? And if I can't hit a fade, that's a big warning sign. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that means my path is probably too end out, and it can be that simple. If I can't draw the ball, then I'm probably coming over the top a little bit and swiping across it. Like there's an issue there if I can't change that variability, because now if I get a lie like this, I'm in a lot of trouble because we need to swing a little more like a draw if the ball's above our feet type thing. So that's kind of the variability I'm talking about. But so I'm teching that. So we got technique, skill, which is ball control, and then mentality. Like, can I actually define and control what I'm thinking about? And can I keep that consistent from a day-to-day basis? So I know this is how I think about my swing. This is how I rehearse it. And this is how I step into the ball. This is how my eyes look, all that stuff. Like, can I actually define that? Most players, I don't think, can even come close to defining that.
Which is why so many of us are so baffled when things go wrong, because we don't know.
We have no idea, right? Because like if we don't know what to think, the environment's going to control what you think. Meaning like I step up and all of a sudden there's out of bounds left and I'm afraid of hooking the ball. Now I'm in a whole different state of mind because I'm afraid of hooking the ball into that trouble on the left versus like I set the face, set my feet, I look at the target, eyes come back and I hit it.
Yeah.
Like doesn't matter what's in front of me because that's how I practice it. Like I do that. This is what I do. And then the last one is just that competitiveness. So even your recreational golfer, there's going to be pressure on you. Like when you get to close to a personal best, that gets nerve wracking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just that sense of like, I'm playing my best. You're playing against your buddies. People are talking in your ear. There's going to be pressure on you. Mm-hmm. You're playing for money, whatever it is. Everybody gets to that level where they have to deal with that pressure. And that's the stuff we got to simulate and practice. Just like that working out example, we got to get ourselves to the edge of our ability and make ourselves a little nervous. And can we perform in that, level? So again, all going back to like making it as close to game-like as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Because again, golf is the most variable thing. I mean, like basketball, football, all that stuff's played on the same exact field.
Right. And I think that's what leads to a lot of frustration. So many of us are we grew up playing baseball, basketball, football. Take, football, for example. If you ask me right now to throw, a 30-yard pass, I'm going to throw it the same every time and it's going to be, fine. But then if you ask me to hit, a 150-yard 8-iron the same every time, it's not. And I think that's where these things start to get us frustration. I think the frustration also comes from being like feeling a little bit out of control. Like we were just saying, like not knowing what is it that's causing me to do this? Like any other area of my life, like work, I may have had a bad day. I know why I had a bad day. Maybe my mind wasn't with it and I did whatever. But sometimes there's nothing more frustrating than leaving the golf course and being like, I just felt like I didn't have any control over what was happening to me. It was happening to me. It wasn't something that I was doing. This was happening to me. I don't know what it was. And I can't shake it off because my mind is reeling like I can't fix it. And I think that's where the frustration comes in.
No doubt. I mean, there's no worse feeling than being unprepared. You know what I mean? So like when you talk about like kind of that level of practice and going through and being able to define, how you hit shots, how you swing, like even your thoughts are, like defining your routine. Like a good routine is like knowing exactly what you're thinking. It's not so much about the physical motion. Yeah. Like it doesn't matter if you take 2 or 3 practice swings. Like honestly, it's like, are you walking up there with confidence and do you know what your thoughts are? So like being able to do that is like having the answers to a test. Because if something's thrown at you, a situation, you have the answer, you have the solution. But like you said, all of a sudden we don't know what the shot is. We hit a bad shot. We don't know why we hit that bad shot. We start freaking out. Now we start trying harder. We start thinking more. We start tensing up. We're trying everything we read. I got to change my grip. I got to turn my hips more, so now we're so like scattered in thought process out there. But that's again, that's not the day of the game issue. That's not your on the round issue. That's your practices issue.
Yeah. Because
what you're doing there is a direct reflection of what you do on the range is tinkering or just not even being prepared for those situations.
Right. And look, I see this as a way, it is not just as though you're saying, well, here's a whole bunch of assignments, but it seems like this, you could kind of take your mindset of this and switch it and just think, this could be fun. This is a whole nother dynamic you can add to the game at the range rather than going just on automatic. Going out there and having a little bit of fun with the variability. Can I try to hit this shot? Can I try to hit that shot? It actually makes me think of, do you know, Zach Radford? Have you heard that name, Zach Radford?
I know the name. I'm blanking on why I know it.
If you saw on Instagram, if you saw him, you'd know. He's the guy who hits some of the craziest shot shapes. He can hit these incredible stingers that just go all different directions. But he's a pro golfer. He's not on tour, but he's a professional golfer. Anyway, I caught him at the PGA show and I'm like, how do you do that? How do you do these insane shot shapes? And he said, when I was a kid, I would just go to the range and I would try new things. I would try. He would say, if I started to bend the ball right, I would say, okay, then what's my limit? How far can I bend the ball right? How far can I? And I'm thinking this as you're saying that, it's a very similar thing. Instead of just going on autopilot, understanding your ball flight by trying new things. And I think that could be a little bit of fun. It could introduce a new fun dynamic to the range.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's a blast for me, especially because I'm kind of scattered mind. So I need to be shifting what I'm doing a lot, but like I get bored just hitting a shot, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I said, hitting kind of creative shots like that. And, another big one too is going through situations. It's just like when we're kids, like basketball hoops and you're counting down 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
But like having situations on the range for yourself too to keep you kind of engaged. And even more powerfully, like situations that have like ticked you off in the past, rounds you wish you could have had back. Like mentally going back, like, all right, I got this shot again.
Yeah.
This is that hole. This is how I'm going to approach that. And like starting to put yourself in that mindset of doing that stuff is a blast. But we're so addicted to games. I mean, look at the addiction to video games and stuff like that. So when we have stuff that's scoreable, it's really powerful. Yeah. Like in my indoor studio, especially, I have, I set up different like wedge challenges. So I use Foresight in my indoor building. I use both TrackMan and Foresight, kind of like Kevin does. But But most of my hitting bays where people practice, I use these foresights, and I set up this 20-shot wedge challenge, and I have leaderboards, and I have like a putting course with leaderboards, and like people come in, the first thing they do is they look at the leaderboard, like what's the number up there right now?
That's cool.
You know what I mean? It's because, and then people like are competing and going after that, and like that's cool because that's fun. Like they're not just sitting there just like hitting balls and looking at their cell phone. They're in there ready to work. But so if you have some games and stuff for yourself like that, where you have a scoreable, measurable goal, and you're measuring even against your personal best, which is really important. Like now you're really coming out there. Like I want to be back out there the next day. Like I got to accomplish this.
Yeah.
Especially if you give yourself, like, it's important to go, I'm giving myself 3 opportunities to do this instead of like, I'm here all night until I do it. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to eventually figure it out. But again, it doesn't mean you're doing it in a lot of time frame. So it's like, a good one, I'll give an example, like a putting one. I learned this from a close buddy of mine, Brady Riggs, just 3, 6, 9. So there's 3-footer, 6-footer, and a 9-footer for 5 different holes. So it's 15 total putts, all different random breaks and stuff. You do one ball, full routine, like on the course, and you set basically a number for your skill. Like most of my better players, I'm setting 12 out of 15, or they got to restart.
Okay.
And I'll give them a certain amount of chance to do it. And if they don't do it within 2 or 3 chances, they're running laps or push-ups or whatever. And you cannot miss a 3-footer. So you get down to that end where like you have your last 3-footer. I mean, that's a little nerve-wracking because you probably don't want to go run, or you don't want to do your push-ups, or pay me like another $10 or something.
Yeah.
Well, but, that's stuff like that, like you said. So now, like one day, depending on your skill level, one day you can get 10, next day you can get 12, and the next day you get 13. One day you're making all 15. I mean, you're standing over a 3-footer feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Because you've seen all these different breaks and you've done it under a little pressure and you've done it with routine. So now you kind of like, this is what I do. Not like, oh man, I hope I don't miss this 3-footer because everybody keeps giving me as a gimme and now I got to putt it.
Yeah.
Where I've never actually practiced this 3-footer because I'm missing 15 footers on the practice screen.
It makes a lot of sense. And Mike, that's like what you do. It made me think about the gym. Even though it's the gym, like most people don't, it's like it's the gym. You don't necessarily love going to the gym, but you've got the competitions there, right? As your circuit training, don't you guys have on the board
There's leaderboards. Yeah, absolutely.
So that gets you going and motivates you. And so I like that. I mean, I've done a little bit of that on the putting surface. We've talked a little bit about that, and rather than just treating it always as just like going through the motions and simulating that pressure. So I'm going to look forward to putting some more of this into my range practice sessions this year for sure. I think it's a great idea. So do this. Tell us a little bit more about your program, and how that works and how, you're able to kind of expand on what some of the stuff we're talking about here.
Yeah, so I have a couple of avenues with it, but the main one is, I started a membership site where I live stream every Tuesday with a random break here and there just to set up a new module. So this last 4 weeks, I did a module just called How to Make Practice 10 Times More Valuable, where I really dove deep into this and used user examples of like some of the things they struggle with, and just showed them live and like how to practice that, whether it's a technique thing or a skill thing or how to structure your time. But I mean, there's just we could talk hours and hours and hours on this stuff. So that's where I kind of decided, like, look, it'd be good just to start live streaming, teaching people this because, I just don't think it's out there. Like I've searched and, especially as a younger coach, I was searching everywhere for how to make players practice more efficient. So I just decided to take it upon myself and, my other stuff and coaching basketball and studying psychology and skill acquisition and stuff like that. I started like really figuring out like this is really what works, and this is kind of a system that I put together, like those 4 pillars I talked about. But so I live stream, and then like I understand most people, because I do it Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Time, and I understand a lot of people can't be there for the live, but I always put the replays up in the membership site, and I have some cool like tools and stat tracking stuff in there for people and stuff like that. And then I also have an online course I call Training to Be a Beast, which is literally a step-by-step from step 1, how to basically know what your self-image is, like, how much mental game you need, what do you need, technical work, and kind of understanding yourself, and then how to set goals, how to set time management, how to structure your plan. I mean, I literally go down step by step. And like for your users, if anybody wants to get in that and kind of check it out, I have a free trial set up for them too, so they can jump in there for a few days and like really see that. So they can just go to www.thepracticeofgreatpractice.com, and I have a whole trial set up for your listeners. to be able to do that. So they can kind of see the live session replays I did, and they can also get a look at that online course too, which is, really, if you're going to dive in and learn that, the online course should take you a little while, like a week or two, to really go through it, learn it, do the exercises and stuff like that. But, if you really go through and follow that and are disciplined to it, your practice will be, the feedback's been really cool. I'm not somebody who likes to brag, and I don't mean to sound bragging, but like the feedback people have been sending in, like, great players and players who practice but are, not getting much better. It's just like, wow, this is like really eye-opening, and, just some of the stuff we talked about. So it's been a lot of fun to kind of break through that barrier, I guess.
Well, that's so cool because you're teaching people a skill too. You're teaching them a skill of practice. So the fact that they're able to just practice better, no matter where they go with the game, they can keep taking that and then going forward. Like it's because I think it is something that, as you said, I'm glad you're putting it out there. It need to be put out there of how to practice or how to train. So you said that's thepracticeofgreatpractice.com, right?
Yeah.
I just
so my main website
down.
is championwaystraining.com, but the Practice of Great Practice is a specific site for your users and stuff where you offer the trial and stuff, and that'll lead them to the other stuff. But
got it. I'll put that I'll put both links in the show notes so everybody can check that out, and we'll post it in the Facebook group as well. So yeah, we appreciate that and giving our listeners a chance to check it out. But all great stuff. I tell you, I always have a blast getting a chance to chat with you. And like you said, I could go on for hours and hours and just, just keep talking about it, cause it is so interesting. Cause it's one of those things that transcends golf. I think it goes beyond that. It's, as you said, human learning and all these other things that kind of come into it. So great stuff. I've actually been checking out your program. I was, in there watching. I didn't get to see it live, but I watched some of the replay of your, how to make practice 10 times more valuable. So I'll be following along as we go, and
cool.
I'll give you credit as that handicap starts to come down.
I appreciate that. Well, and the last thing, I know we probably got to go, but, one thing that really kind of hit home is, I had a player that's going off to college, a really good player that struggled a little bit this past year, but, started kind of helping her out with her practice and stuff. And she's just like, I'm so confident. It's crazy. And I just kind of asked her, I was like, why do you think that is? And she's kind of looking at me like, she's like, I've never been this detailed in practice before. She's like, this is like, it's crazy how good I feel about going to the course. She's like, I feel like I know exactly what's going to happen, where before I'd go out there and just kind of hope I was bringing my good stuff or hoping I wasn't messing up. So I think that's pretty cool too, because that's really what this does, is it starts to instill confidence because you're defining what you're doing and you're being really structured with your time, and you're actually measuring like, look, I'm actually getting better at this, and this is how I know this because I'm judging personal best and all that stuff, and I'm doing scoreable games, and one day I'm getting better, and it's variable too. I'm not just doing the same task over and over. Like I'm actually doing different stuff, hitting 3-footers from different spots, but I'm making more and more and more. So yeah,
I'll tell you, it's true. There's a magical thing that happens when it switches from, as you said, like the word she used, hopeful. Like you're just hoping you play well, to just going out there and being confident that you're going to. It's like, it's just switching that control from you controlling the situation versus some outside force, like this big weight that is the challenge of golf controlling it for us. Right. So, and that's, as you said, I think this is just so important. That's why I'm so glad to get you on the show and get a chance to talk about it. We see it, we know it because we see it in a lot of other sports. You see it like when, for example, when the Olympics come around and they do all those backstories on some of these guys, and they talk about the way that they train and some of the simulations that they do. So it just makes sense that this is something that we should be doing too, so great stuff. Again, Kyle, can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk with us. And I'm sure now that you're officially a regular, we'll have to check back in with you soon. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. And like I said, we'll definitely check out the website. We'll put the links to that in the show notes so everybody else can check it out. Let us know what you think. Kyle, thanks again. And we'll catch up with you real soon.
Sounds great.
All right. So, a couple of weeks ago, Kyle and I were just kind of like reconnected. Just every once in a while we'll chat. We don't get a chance to talk as much as we did, when we were first, kicking off the podcast, and he was on the show a lot. But this was one of those things that I wanted this opportunity. I know he's releasing his new program, the Champion Ways program, and I got a chance to dive into it a little bit, but I wanted to get a chance to bring him back on because we're always striving to just kind of like really show the fun side of golf. I feel like so many people just don't have enough fun with it. At the end of the day, it's a game. We're supposed to be out there. We're supposed to be having fun. So I just kind of sometimes deconstruct that and say, why is it that we're not always having so much fun? And a big part of it is frustration. So then you take it to the next level and say, well, what is it that's causing this frustration? And I think that's one of the things. It's this feeling like we're not in control or we just don't know. We don't know why it is that we're not performing well, or as Kyle says about consistency, or why does it feel like we're playing well on the range and not out on the course? So that's why, I got to talking to him about it. I'm like, you got to get back on the podcast. Let's talk about it. And for all the reasons you guys just heard, I think that he's really onto something here. And it's not like he's reinventing the wheel. As we said, we understand the value of practice and we see it in so many other sports, but yet in golf, sometimes we don't make that connection. So I definitely encourage you guys to check out what he's got going on. His program it's very cool. I've been kind of following through the live streams that he does, and it's very similar to what you heard here. He's a wealth of knowledge and he's just kind of like putting it out there. Kyle does work with some incredible golfers, some who, are working their way towards the PGA Tour. So he really does know his stuff. And if you can and that's what I like about some of these online things. It's like, the cost versus going and actually working with some of these top level coaches, like one-on-one, is relatively inexpensive. You get to see inside and get inside their brain a little bit and get some of their best value, their best content by doing these things. So Kyle has always done really, he's always been great to us, always been great to the podcast. So I want to offer him every bit of support, and I want to, definitely have you guys check that out. So it's thepracticeofgreatpractice.com. If you want to find out more about Kyle, you can search him on the web, Kiel Alderink. We'll put a lot of this stuff in the show notes, but Mike, I feel like, again, I come out of this learning a lot.
You know what? I'm kind of bummed. Because, on my agenda for tomorrow, I was going to go to the range and hit a bucket of 40 golf balls with just my 7-iron. So I guess those days are over.
But it is true. Like, I didn't make that connection until he said it. Why are we all so good with our 7-iron?
It's so funny. We don't think about it until someone like Kyle points it out. Same with putting. We drop down 10 balls. We hit after the same target. Obviously, putts 8, 9, and 10 usually all go in.
Yeah. But dude, it's true. I think about a bucket of balls. Like 50% of them I'm hitting with my 7-iron just to see like where my swing is at that day. And then if I hit 3 to 5 balls with like, let's say like my 3-wood out of that entire bucket, that's a lot. And then when I get out on the course and I'm faced with a shot where I have to hit that 3-wood and I can't, now I know why, now it's like, he said, vary your practice, change it up and do different things.
I like it. I think I'm going to try the approach. I'm going to work on the range maybe before a round with clubs that I'm uncomfortable with to gain confidence quick, and then finish off my practice session before hitting the first tee with like 5 or 6 shots from the confidence bag, the 7-8 iron or something.
Hey, it's a lot like what we say in the putting, work on your putting, but then your last couple of putts, just hit some that you're confident with and just work out on the course with it. But hey, the other thing you could do, check out the shot scope. Go in and look at your stats and see what some of the clubs are that are lower in accuracy, and then just bring those to the range. And if you need to force yourself to have discipline, one thing you guys can do is leave the other clubs home. When you go to the range, just bring those couple of clubs that you need to work on, and then you've got no choice. You can't just go back that slippery slope back to the old 7-iron, So a lot of different ways to do it, but get yourself out of your comfort zone, and then you'll find that you'll be a lot more in your comfort zone when you're out on the course. Guys, as always, let us know what you think by posting your comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, post your comments below. Otherwise, you can always leave us a message in the Facebook group, which if you're not already part of, it's 100% free. Just go on Facebook, search the Golf Podcast, Golficity. You'll find us. It's easy to find. Jump in there. You can always, tweet us. There's a lot of different ways you can get in touch with us, but we always love your feedback. Let us know if you like what Kyle had to say. If there's some other coaches you'd like to hear from on the show, let us know. We're going to line up some great interviews for you guys this year. And we love that feedback. If there's maybe somebody who hasn't come on our radar yet that we need to speak with, let us know. A lot of ways. You can also email us directly at podcast@golficity.com. That's everything we have for you guys this week. Remember, you can get to the show notes by going to golficity.com/episode 259, or check them out in the Golficity app, which is available for iOS and Android. We'll see everybody again next week.